What is Sufism? This question can perhaps be answered in as many ways as it can be asked. For example, if we ask from the vantage point of community, or what the Buddhists call Sangha, we could say that Sufism is the deepening of connectivity within that body. This is especially apt if we see community in the larger sense that Pir Elias Amidon describes in his essay, Beloved Community, not just as an association of people, but as the interconnectedness of everyone and everything around and within us. Everyone means every living entity. People, obviously, and also legged and winged, scaled and leafy creatures in yards, parks, ponds, and in their varied natural habitats. And the realms of fungi, bacteria, single-celled creatures, and so on. In other words, every entity that arises, lives, and perishes. We could take this further by considering our relatedness to everyone who ever was or will be, especially our own ancestors and descendants. Everything means all the rest, all the inorganic concentrations of material or meaning resident in our lives. Obviously, this means stuff, my car, this pen, those books. But it also means events, durations that have their own outlines, such as a thunderstorm, a wedding, a road trip. And it means non-material things that have become real objects to us, regardless of how abstract they might seem. Democracy or some other ideology, for example. For some, even God is an object as real as rain, and so on. Sufis tell us that we are already inextricably connected to everyone and everything, everywhere. For example, our morning cup didn't just come out of the Keurig. Energy from the sun that ripened the coffee beans or tea leaves is in that cup, as are the energies of those who grew, warehoused, processed, packaged, transported, and sold it. Not to mention the water flowing from faraway mountains and roaming clouds to our reservoirs and wells, and now through our kitchens into our bodies, and thence to our local sewer systems, and eventually back to rain. Everyone and everything is already interconnected, each of us a node in a vast network of relationships. Deepening our experience to those connections, however, presents a tricky dilemma. Sufis regard our innate connectedness to the world from contradictory perspectives, neither of which is truer than the other. On the one hand, the world is an illusion, consisting of beings and things which, subject to impermanence, have no inherent reality. Rather than deepen our attachment to these phantoms, Sufis tell us we should carefully distance ourselves from this transient world. On the other hand, the world is divine radiance, and through our engagement with creation, we come to see and know the Creator. Everything that comes and goes is, in its essence, a revelation of divine attributes, and it is by witnessing these core qualities and experiencing their timelessness that we come to love that which is their source. For example, one of the many attributes of an apple tree is fruitfulness. The apples it produces not only nourish others, they embody its own future, containing the seeds of its next generations. Whether we think of this as God's manifestation or just nature, This sublime circle of life reveals something that outlives the impermanence of the tree itself, the everywhere attribute, fruitfulness, that can be seen throughout time in the organic world. We could say that all beings and things are essentially combinations of divine attributes embodied, for the moment, in time and space. If the world is both unreal and the radiance of God, how do we deepen our connections? How do we engage the world without becoming hopelessly enmeshed in its dramas? Or to ask this more bluntly, how do we truly love someone or something without the karmic entanglements of typical human attachment? The obvious reply might be to love the God or the light or the intelligence or beauty within each being, loving the soul while more or less tolerating the body. But a core Sufi teaching, the unity of existence, tells us that the body is not the container of the soul. It is the soul, as it exists in time and space. We can only love the Creator but be indifferent to her creations if we forget that they and we are inseparable aspects of, as Inayat Khan says, the only being. Yet, for many of us, the persistent lived experience is that we are individual beings, each with our own unique identity and life path. To deny the actuality of that experience would be foolish. But to think this is the only reality, that separation trumps unity, would be mistaken. So how can we make a whole of these two radically opposed claims? The Sufi practice of zikr is the way of remembrance. On one level, this is understood as remembering God. But it can also mean returning to wholeness, as in remembering that which has been dismembered. In time, the practitioner of zikr arrives at the realization that individuality and union are one, just as life and death are inseparable. And at the level of our daily lives, we can instance this union by following Pir Elias's advice in Beloved Community. Quote, "When we perceive, even for a moment, how we are held in the community of life, how we are sustained within the vast web of all our relations, we gather strength to carry on and to serve the advent of the vision we dream of. Let us take heart in the Beloved Community, not only as a hopeful vision of the future, but as a vivid reality that arises in every manifestation of truth, in every moment of joy, in every experience of the holy."